Ya pone recording para que.
This day changed America forever. So many innocent lives were taken. The whole country was shocked about this event. When it occurred, no one knew what was going on. Why were the planes crashing into the Twin Towers? Till it was revealed that terrorism was occurring. I got a lot of my information from authors who were really good resources with the topic. 9/11 was a day where many horrible events happened, from the Pentagon to the planes being hijacked and the Twin Towers being crashed into. I will be talking about the men that were involved, how it changed America, and about two of the victims that survived the attacks. A total of 19 men were involved in this occurrence. 9/11 attacks were planned by Osama bin Laden, a group called Al Qaeda. Bin Laden believed that the U.S. was weak. It was a total of 19 men who were involved, as Peter Bergen says in his article, 9/11 Attacks. The suicide attacks committed in 2001 involved 19 militants associated with the extremist group of Al Qaeda against targets in the U.S. These hijackers traveled in small groups to the U.S. to establish themselves. Peter also says in his article, groups of the attackers boarded 4 domestic aircrafts. Soon after takeoff, they disabled the crews, some of whom were attacked and stabbed with box cutters. The first plane hit the tower at 8:45, and the second plane hit the second tower 17 minutes later. After these attacks occurred, America changed significantly. The U.S. no longer wanted to seem as if they were weak. War began with Afghanistan. As Matthew Green says in his article, How 9/11 Changed America, less than a month after 9/11, U.S. troops invaded Afghanistan in an attempt to dismantle Al Qaeda, the terrorist group that claims was responsible for the attacks. Immigration and deportation began. In Green's article, he also says, according to the Department of Homeland Security's Yearbook of Immigration Statistics, they were roughly 200,000 annual deportations a year between 1999 and 2001. Now, not just anyone was allowed to get into the U.S. if they weren't from there. Lastly, 2 survivors tell their stories. These 2 men were currently working when the attacks occurred. As Kathy Free says in her article, 9/11 survivors reflect. Stanley was at his desk at the 81st floor of the World Trade Center when he saw an airplane fly past the Statue of Liberty and smash through the tower just 130 feet from his desk. Stanley was trapped under the desk until another co-worker heard his pleas. Kathy Free also says a stranger, Brian Clark, who heard his pleas, came to his aid. The 2 men became very close friends and were so grateful to be alive. Firefighters, first responders, many people who were ready to rescue others even lost their own lives. The U.S. no longer wanted to look weak, and a war with Afghanistan began. I have talked about the men that were involved, how it changed America, and the story about the 2 survivors. This whole event impacted the whole country significantly, and the U.S. all came together that day and witnessed such a terrible situation occur.